What's poppin', everyone? This is your boy DezDaKing back again with another episode of the King Talk TV podcast. It's been a while, but we're back. I got a great guest coming on, gym mate of mine, Army veteran who specializes in emotional intelligence, and he's also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt. Today we're going to discuss emotional intelligence. We're going to discuss being in the Army or being an Army veteran and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and how emotional intelligence in particular, how it's used, what is it, how can we use it in our lives, and how can we use it to become better people. And we're going to talk about that. His name is Nobel Gibbens, by the way. We're going to bring him on in a second. But if you're watching this live on Instagram, please say what's up. Leave a comment below in the comments. Let me know where you're from, so I can shout you out. Don't be afraid to ask questions at all. If you're watching this on YouTube, please consider giving me a like, subscribe, and comment below your thoughts on this entire conversation. And it looks like he requested to come on, so I'm going to bring him on right now. What's up, bro?
My man. It's good to see you, bro.
Man, it's good to see you, man. Bro, I love your energy, bro. You're freaking awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, man. Big D, good to see you, bro.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Noble, bro, what does that sign say in the background?
EQ Gangster.
EQ Gangster? What is that?
That's my business name. That's my podcast. That's my YouTube channel. Is EQ Gangster. Emotional intelligence. EQ stands for emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. And so I'm the EQ Gangster because there's not a lot of folks in the emotional intelligence space that look like me, all tatted up and bald and beard and old school.
Old school. Well, the tats are definitely not old school. The tats are across the board. New school, old school, whatever. Nice, man.
That's right.
But I'm glad that you agreed to join me today and take time out your busy schedule to chat with me about emotional intelligence. And you are also an Army veteran as well, correct?
That's right. I was in the 82nd Airborne Division, infantry guy. Used to jump out of airplanes. Went to airborne school and ranger school long time ago when you were a little kid, bro. And so I call it the Army's elite weight loss program. In fact, this is my Ranger stump right there. You get that? You can buy that from Florida Phase, and you can see the top is white peak because I went during the winter. I was a winter ranger. I graduated in March of '97, and then that red band is my jump master band. So anyway, that's that's a little bit about that for sure.
That's really cool, bro. That's really cool. What did you like most about being in the Army?
Man, great question. So leading for me is leading. God made me for people. I love leading people. I love learning from people, and the opportunity to lead soldiers and learn from soldiers was a tremendous opportunity for me. And then, and then to serve my country, to serve, I feel like there's a lot of challenges and stuff. Every administration has its own set of challenges and stuff, but I'm just very thankful for the country that God allowed me to be born and raised in, because I have a lot of friends. I've traveled outside the OCONUS, we call it, outside the continental United States, and there's a lot of countries that are not as fortunate as our country is. And so I'm very grateful to be. Do we have issues? Absolutely. We have more issues in Time Magazine, but relatively speaking, I'm telling you, I got one of in fact, my brother-in-law is from Ghana, bro. He's from Ghana. He's Ghanaian, like African American, right? Not born in Brooklyn as African American. I'm talking like born in Africa.
Actually,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's Ghanaian, and then one of my other best friends is from the Ivory Coast, right? He's African black, bro. He is like African black. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
and when one of my closest friends, and dude, the Ivory Coast is not has a different set of challenges than America does. You know what I'm saying? And I've got a friend of mine, a buddy of mine who's in the military. He's from the Dominican Republic, bro. And I've done mission trips to Dominican Republic, bro. The Dominican Republic, bro. I mean, 95% of that country is they have a different way of life than we do. And so we think that, oh man, America's this bad. I'm telling you, we are fortunate. We are blessed and fortunate to live in this country with, you know, and again, I get we have our issues, but dude, I'm very thankful for the country that we live in. You know what I mean?
I get exactly what you mean. It's really sad and unfortunate that a lot of people don't understand that. People find, like you said, we have our issues. We're not perfect. We don't have a perfect history. We don't have a perfect present time, and we're not going to have a perfect future. But if you analyze history just a little bit and just have a little awareness about what's going on in other places versus what is portrayed in your face all the time, you can come to a quick consensus that this is the best country to live. You don't even have to travel. Traveling is great, but we have the internet now. You could just see that things people are going through it, basically, you know. And
Shirley knows. Shirley, you got it, girl. Shirley knows what's up. That's right. Que lo que? Ya tú sabes, que lo que?
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. While we at it, shout out. Go ahead, bro.
No, you're right. You're right. I totally agree with you. 100%, bro. 100%.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and while we in the comments, shout out to my man Jeff. I don't know if he's still there, but I interviewed him about a month ago. He's actually a Christian life coach, a life coach. So sort of similar to what you do or what you're into, because you're going to need emotional intelligence as a life coach, I believe, to be able to teach and to coach and to prep people. What do you think about that?
So yeah, I do 100%. Check this out. This has been interesting being in the emotional intelligence space now for 4 years. And I will tell you, there are a lot of psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, and counselors and coaches that do not have emotional intelligence. It's crazy. It's what I tell people that, hey, Jeff, good shout out, bro. Great to meet you. So what I tell people is, look, there's no amount of degrees, certifications, titles, or positions that trump or compensate for a low EQ. I don't care if you're 3 PhDs from Harvard in behavioral psychology, you can still be a clown. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, bro, in jiu-jitsu, I've met, dude, I'll tell you an example. I'll leave the name out, but I will tell you, you know, I met a brown belt at one of my other gyms that dude had the EQ of a 5-year-old. He was pulling hardcore leg locks and ankle locks on white belts. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? What, dude, you're a grown man. You're 30 years old, bro. You've been rolling for 10 years. What are you doing leg locking, popping ankles for white belts? Like, dude, that's he had the EQ of a 5-year-old. Like, legit, he was like a little boy, but a brown belt. He had the technique and the skill, but he had the emotional intelligence of a 5-year-old. So, you know, in our society, in our world, we love to see the degrees and the backgrounds and the titles and the positions. Oh, he's a CEO. Oh, he's a doctor of psychology. I don't care who you are. Oh, he's a pastor. He's a preacher. Let me tell you what, some of the worst emotional abuse happens in churches, because as long as you put in Jesus' name at the end of what you're saying, people are like, oh, well, man, it must be legit. If Pastor, Bishop, Reverend, Deacon Billy Bob is saying, you know, we all need to, you know, whatever, you know, we can't have kids until we're financially independent. Dude, that's crazy talk, man. That's emotional control and manipulation.
Wow. And you're right, man. And going past churches, we got political leaders as well. You know what I mean? Like you say, doctors, lawyers,
100%.
Reporters, you name it, have
100%.
all these titles, but they don't have that emotional control. They don't have emotional intelligence. And that's unfortunate, but people like you are putting that awareness out there. So hopefully more people can tap into that and get their emotional intelligence under control. I wanted to read this to you, Noble, real quick. I looked up this definition, and I want you to give me your definition of emotional intelligence after I read this one. Emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize and understand one's own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. It involves the ability to manage one's own emotions and respond appropriately to the emotions of others in order to build positive relationships and achieve personal and professional success. Is that an accurate definition of emotional intelligence? And what, if it is, or if it isn't, what is your definition?
So, yeah, that's a great definition. I have a little bit different working definition that I use with my coaching clients, executives, and leaders that I work with. For me, it's this. It's the ability. So I've got a few different layers of definitions. Number one is this. The easiest level is this. Get your emotions to work for you instead of against you. Okay, that's number one. Get your emotions to work for you instead of against you. To get you so that your emotions don't control you, so that you can manage your emotions, not be controlled or managed by your emotions. Emotions make terrible slave masters. And the crazy thing is, so many of us are controlled and manipulated by our own emotions, bro. So many of us, right? Because we don't have the self-awareness and we don't have the self-management to know how to identify. So here's my definition. The ability to acknowledge, identify, process, and manage our own emotions and the emotions of others in order to make the best decisions for all parties involved. Now, I will tell you, Des, there is a downside or a dark side to emotional intelligence. There are some people that learn about emotions and EQ so that they can be better at controlling and manipulating other people. And I've got a three-part series on my podcast called EQ Gangster, where my wife talks about the dark side of emotional intelligence. It's like episode 31, 33, and 35, or somewhere in that neck of the woods. But there are some people who learn about this stuff so they can be more effective at controlling and manipulating other people. So that's why, in my opinion, it's so important to become emotionally healthy, because the healthier you become emotionally, the more aware. Now I have more emotional jujitsu moves, right? If I'm emotionally healthier and I got super hardcore Des coming at me and I'm like, oh, snap, man, I don't know how to handle this, you'll be able to ball me up all day, right? Because you're stronger than me. You're swole, bro. You're more shredded than cheddar cheese, bro. You know what I'm saying? And so, right? And I'm like, stay puft. So if I didn't have any moves, you'd be able to ball me up all day. I mean, you kind of almost do ball me up anyway. But I got a little something, right, where I can still kind of hold my own. But that's because I'm healthier emotionally, right? And so now I can be aware if someone like is trying to come at me with control and manipulation. I can be aware, oh, whoa, hey, bro, hey, that I didn't like that. It doesn't, that, no, right? Because now I know boundaries, right? Because the healthier I get emotionally, the more I can create, communicate, and enforce my boundaries. But when I wasn't emotionally healthy, I had no awareness, I had no ability. I would let other people roll over me, and you know, I just roll over. And I would violate other people's boundaries because I had no awareness of this stuff. But now that I have this awareness, now I can respect and honor your boundaries, and I can communicate and I can create, communicate, and enforce my boundaries with you, and I don't feel bad about it. Even if you get bent out of shape or anything like that, I'm not sweating it, because these are my boundaries, bro, and I'm not gonna let you violate my boundaries anymore, because I'm healthier emotionally, because I'm not. The other thing too, bro, is I was a hardcore people pleaser addict as well. Hardcore people pleaser addict. And thank God, by God's grace, the last 4 years, I've had my emotional fitness program that I have been working on a daily basis. So now I don't have that I'm probably 90 to 95% of my way through my people-pleasing addiction. So I still have some more I got to work on, but I'm 90 to 95% through that. So now I don't care what people think anymore. I care what God thinks. And outside of God, you know, I will listen to other people. I will seek the truth in whatever they're saying, but it's not my identity anymore. So if someone says, I hate you, Nobel, or whatever, or even if they say, so here's how I know I've grown, a couple of different ways. Praise and hate don't affect me and impact me and consume me like it used to, because it's no longer my identity. As a people pleaser addict, I was seeking the approval and validation and affirmation from everyone else around me, even though I said, oh, I love Jesus. No, now truly my identity is in Christ and I behave that way, right? So now I don't need the approval and validation and affirmation from other people. And if someone says, I hate you, Noble, you're a waste of skin. Hey, cool, bro. Thank you for your input. Thank you for your opinion. It doesn't define me. Cool. That's your opinion and perspective. You don't like bald guys with beards and tattoos. Cool. Awesome. Don't care. This is my life, bro. It's not your life. It's my life. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, just some other thoughts here for you.
No, man, that's beautiful. And that's a beautiful place to be able to just carry out your life, contemplate your goals, accomplish your goals, and not worry about what someone else is thinking about that. To be able to just do that, that's the beautiful place to be. And I don't think you can accomplish your goals without being in that space at a certain point in your life, because if you're always, like you say, people pleasing, if you're always worried about what someone else is saying, you will never reach your goal. And even if you do reach it, isn't your goal anymore, because you've been in and out listening to taking everyone's input. Is the input you're taking going to generate the output that you're really looking for at the end of the day? So yeah, that's beautiful stuff, man. Could you tell us a short story about how you were manipulated emotionally?
So, I won't go super deep, but I will give you. So
only what you can, no, not just. Yeah.
I was in a business cult for 20 years.
A business what now?
Cult.
A business cult. Wow.
I was in a business cult for over 2 decades. And here's the crazy thing, right? So we were very, very successful in this business cult. Financially independent at age 30. Spoke all over the world to tens of thousands of people all over the world, bro, for a decade, over a decade, 15 to 20 years. Why? Because I was emotionally unhealthy and emotionally dysfunctional. I was emotionally needy. I was emotionally codependent. I had toxic positivity. I a people pleaser addict. I name an emotional dysfunction and I had it. And so guess what? There are a lot of successful people around us every day for unhealthy reasons. So the reason why I was so successful, the more performance and results I got in my organization, they would love bomb me and put me up on stages and say, oh my gosh, look how amazing this guy is. Well, guess what? In my emotionally unhealthy, emotionally dysfunctional, emotionally needy phase of life that I was in, I had had very, very low EQ. Man, guess what? It fed my ego. For a people pleaser addict, are you joking me? I was like, this is amazing. This is crack. Like legit. It was a drug for me, legit. An emotional drug for me. And so some of the things and here's the thing, in that environment, not only was I victim, but I was also abuser. I was on both sides of the fence. So I was on the receiving end of control and manipulation. And because I had no emotional awareness, I was also pushing the same Kool-Aid that I was drinking, right? And since then, I've had to call up a lot of people and apologize to them for the control and manipulation that I did to them, right? And I've had to apologize like profusely. Look, I am so sorry that I did this, and just please know I had no awareness of what I was doing. I was completely clueless. Will you forgive me? You know what I mean? So here's an example. So one of the things, there was a tremendous amount of, again, control and manipulation, and as long as you performed, the relationship with the people within the organization was highly encouraged. They would serve you, and they would again love bomb you, and they would, man, give you lots of edification and edify you and encourage you and uplift you. And as soon as you stop performing, in the military, we called it P&G. They would persona non grata. You wouldn't exist. They'd be like, you'd call them up. Hey, Des. Hey, man, just try, hey, bro, you'd ghost me, right? Or you would say like, hey, Nobel, hey, once you get your poop in a group and you start performing again, then we can talk again, right? Other than that, you outie 5,000, right? So which kept you on that performance hamster wheel. And again, as a people pleaser addict and someone that my relationships became very performance oriented for that reason, right? Because as long as I performed for you, Des, you would show me love. As soon as I stopped performing for you, you would ghost me. Well, think about emotionally what that would do. I'd be like, oh, crap, I need my Des crack, because now I'm emotionally codependent on you and emotionally needing to you. And if you stop giving me that Des drug, I need that. So guess what? I'm going to get back on the hamster wheel, right? And potentially put my family in some dire financial straits, right? And so, it was, and then this one is another one. Like, hey, we don't recommend you have children until you become financially independent. And that would get reinforced across a lot of different ways that would get, encouraged. And dude, that is someone's own business when they have kids, man. Like, when you start getting into, and that's the other thing too, is they would want access to every aspect of your life, financially, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, relationally, educationally. They would say this: don't listen to any podcast or any information outside of our education system. Dude, that's like, I don't know if you've ever seen this old movie called The Village, but it's an older school movie called The Village. Dude, that was very close to the environment that I was in for 2.5 decades, bro. If you want, just go check out The Village and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, man. But think about that. If someone tries to, it's the media, but it's today, right? If someone tries to control your media consumption, guess what? You are going to get a very narrow, specific view of the world if you only listen to, fill in the blank media organization. I don't care what media you listen to. It doesn't matter. Whichever one you listen to is trying to give you a very specific view of the world, right? And that's how it's a great way to control people. If they can control the information that you consume, right? There's some powerful controls for that. So those are some examples of some control and manipulation that I experienced myself. And again, that I was also a part of until we started to grow emotionally. And we're like, hey man, so this is not right. This is not, and guess what happened to us? Once and again, we weren't new people. We weren't like brand new white belts, bro. We were brown belts with like 3 or 4 stripes about to be black belts, bro. Right? We spoke all over the place, right? And guess what our black belts did to us? Totally gaslighted us. Totally gaslighted us. Noble, hey man, that's just you, bro. That's just you. You're losing your dream. You need to get back on track. You're kind of getting off the reservation here, bro. You need to get back on track. I'm like, no, bro. That's called gaslighting. No. I'm not down with this anymore. So anyway, that's kind of the story in a nutshell.
Bro, that is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. I don't even know what to say, man. But That is something I wasn't expecting, not expecting at all, no. But I am glad that God brought you out of that, man. Some people, I'm sure you probably know, some people are still trapped in that and doing the same thing and just getting deeper, falling deeper and deeper into darkness. You said, and Jeff said it earlier in the comments. He said that uh, that you reached out to people and apologized, which is beautiful. You know, you didn't have to do that either. That right there takes humbling, and it takes emotional intelligence even to do that as well. So, man, I'm happy God brought you out of that.
Amen, bro.
And it's so, I don't want to get too off topic, but it reminds me a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, because they're kind of the same thing. Not, you know, not the business part, but as far as only just don't listen to any other tags or group or whatever. Just come to the Kingdom Hall and just focus in on Kingdom Hall. I don't know how much you know about Jehovah's Witnesses, but focus on what we're talking about. Don't listen to the outside. So that's definitely a cult, man. But crazy story, bro. Crazy story. If you can shortly, could you detail how did God begin to bring you out of that? Just a little bit of that. What started that push to lead you out of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll share. I've got a couple stories. I'm going to share one story. So 4 years ago, I yelled at my wife 3 times in 3 weeks. And she said 3 things. Number 1, don't ever do that again. Number 2, you've never done that before. Number 3, since you haven't ever done that before, that means you got more issues than Sports Illustrated. And I was like, snap, babe, you're right. Went to counseling. The counselor introduced me to 2 revolutionary new concepts, Des, called feelings and emotions. And I was like, WTF, right? Where are the fajitas? I'm like, what on earth are feelings and emotions? I have no idea what you're talking about. And he's like, exactly. That's my point, bro. You need some help. So that started a very intentional emotional growth journey for me, emotional fitness program. And 2 years into that, every day emotional fitness program, all these big rocks in my life started to change and improve for the better, started to transform. My faith, my marriage, my finances, my parenting, my fitness, business, all these big areas. I'm like, wow, baby, has this all been because I've been emotionally dysfunctional and now I'm finally taking ownership of them? I said, babe, I got to start a podcast just sharing the junk in my trunk and my corresponding lessons learned. And because I said, I can't be the only emotionally clueless guy out there. There's got to be other Nobels out there. So she's like, bro, let's do it. So started a podcast, and that was 3 years ago. And now that turned into, you know, I'm working with some very big companies in the military, different military organizations and leaders on helping them become emotionally intelligent leaders. And again, the point of emotional intelligence is not so we can all bathe in, you know, essential oils and you know, sniff Skittle farts and rainbows and unicorns. It's so that we can be informed by our emotions, but not be controlled or manipulated by our emotions, right? So because that's, you know, for me, I believe in Jesus, right? And I believe God created us, and emotions are an aspect about us that God gave us. He gave us emotions. And so, but how many of us have been trained in emotional jujitsu, right? Nobody gets trained in emotions. And so we wonder why we get armbarred and choked out and tapped out all the time. It's because none of us have been trained on how to use our emotions, right? What is this? What emotion am I feeling right now? Well, man, how do I roll emotionally? How do I roll on the emotional mat with anger? How do I roll with frustration? How do I roll with sadness? How do I grieve? How do I mourn? How do I experience fulfillment? How do I experience satisfaction? Right? So if you don't learn how to roll with these different opponents, right? Like Dez is, like I said before, shredded like cheddar cheese. How do I roll with the super strong, shredded, stinking young guy? Okay, well, as an old guy, I better figure that out. Well, how do I roll with Big Vince, right? He's the brown belt, 1 or 2 stripe brown belt, whatever, ninja, a lot of experience, very technical. How do I roll with that guy? How do I roll with Chad, Smaller guy, but 10 times faster, 10 times more technical. How do I roll with that guy, right? It's the same thing, but just with different emotions. And it's not like, but now that I understand some basics about jiu-jitsu, I don't have to be scared when I roll with Chad. I don't have to be scared when I roll with Dez. I don't have to be scared when I roll with Vince, because I have some basics, a basic understanding of how to, some of the different emotional moves on how to roll, how to do emotional frames, how to do some different, how to shrimp, how to, you know what I mean? But most of us have never been trained like that with emotions. And now that I have been trained with emotions, I'm just trying to teach other people emotional jiu-jitsu.
Beautiful, man. That's awesome. I'm a guy who's been emotionally wrecked. I'm just giving you a scenario here. I'm just a guy who's emotionally unstable, been manipulated, been abused. I'm looking to take better control of my mental, my emotional life. I come to you. I hear about your I heard your podcast, and I come to you. What are the steps do I take to begin my journey on becoming more emotionally intelligent?
Excellent question. So here's this is something that God gave me a while back when I started my own journey. I call it Go Aped, APED, APED. Here's why I came up with that acronym. When I was a kid, I stuffed and avoided all my emotions, and that was fine. It was this cute, furry, fuzzy little monkey that I'm feeding in my emotional basement with all these little emotional injuries. And it's a cute, furry, fuzzy little monkey. And so I'm fine, feeding that cute, furry, fuzzy little monkey with all my emotional injuries. Well, when you do that for 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 5 years, a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades of stuffing and avoiding and feeding my cute, furry, fuzzy little emotional monkey in the basement, it's not a cute, furry, fuzzy little emotional monkey in the basement anymore. Now it's an 800-pound gorilla. And that's when I yelled at my wife because I couldn't keep King Kong in my emotional basement anymore because he got too big and strong with all those emotional injuries adding up, decade after decade after decade, and me never going back and healing or fixing or praying and asking God to help me through this stuff. And so for me, that's why I use this Go Aped analogy. So A is acknowledge. You have to acknowledge what emotions you're feeling. Well, how do you do that? How do you acknowledge your emotions? From someone who only knew 3 or 4 emotions, period, 4 years ago, I could tell you happy, sad, angry, and mad. Those are the only 4 emotions that I knew. So that acknowledge piece is growing your emotional vocabulary. How do you grow your emotional vocabulary? Check out my podcast. Check out books on emotional intelligence. Check out other books on emotional intelligence. And just start to understand the language of emotions. What are the ABCs of emotions? What are the words of emotions? So A is acknowledge. What emotions are you feeling? The emotion that you acknowledge. So this is money. If you name it, you can tame it. If you can't name the emotion, you can't tame the emotion. Right? So you have to be able to name that emotion. What emotion am I feeling right now? Well, how do you even develop it? How do you even do that if you don't know the names of emotions? So again, that's where you have to grow your emotional vocabulary. Another way to acknowledge is go to Google and type in emotion wheel. Print out an emotion wheel. They have stickers, they have pillows, they have all kinds of things that you can do, but it's an emotion, it's a wheel of emotions. Now, that's not all the emotions. That's just a sampling of emotions, but that's a great start. So A is acknowledge. Then P is permission to feel. Give yourself permission to feel each of those emotions, because the emotion that you don't acknowledge grows. It gets bigger and stronger. So if I don't acknowledge Desmond, let's say he's one of my emotions, he's already big and strong as it is. If I don't recognize Desmond, he's going to get bigger and stronger. He's not, because that's part of how God wired us. So once I recognize that, hey, Desmond, I got you. I do want to roll with you. I'm in the middle of a meeting right now. So later on this evening, Desmond, you and me are going to roll. And then Desmond's like, okay, cool. I just want to make sure that you recognize me and that we're going to get some roll time. Yep, absolutely, Desmond, I got you, but I can't do it now because I'm in this meeting. But later on tonight, Desmond, you and me are going to get some roll time. Now, again, Desmond may be anger, it may be frustration, it may be sadness. It's okay. God gave us all those emotions. It's fine to feel anger. It's fine to feel sadness. Just allow yourself to feel it, right? It's not to be avoided. Don't be scared of these emotions. God gave us these. What's it telling about you? What is God trying to communicate to you through this emotion of anger or sadness or joy or happiness or frustration, right? There's no such thing as a good or bad emotion. It's pleasant or unpleasant. There's no such thing as a good or bad opponent. I want to roll with the Desmonds. I want to roll with the Vinces. I want to roll with the Chads. I want to roll with the Nobels. I want to roll with everybody so I can understand these different body styles and how I need to roll with Des. It's a little different than how I need to roll with Vince, how a little different, you know what I'm saying? So that's the P. Then there's the E is express. Okay, wait. The P, it takes the body 60 to 90 seconds to feel the fullness of an emotion. So literally set an alarm clock, set your phone, set your watch to 60 to 90 seconds. After you've done the acknowledge piece and you've written down all those emotions that you're feeling, start at the top, because typically the top emotions that you write down are typically your strongest emotions, the more intense emotions. There's some exceptions to that, but as a whole, start with that first emotion, set your watch alarm or your phone alarm for 60 to 90 seconds and allow yourself to feel anger. I'm just using that as an example for 60 seconds. Yell, scream, but feel it for 60 seconds. That alarm goes off. Okay, got it. You allowed yourself to feel anger. Then you go to the next emotion is sadness. Okay, now for the next 60 seconds, feel sad for no other emotion, but sadness for 60 seconds. And what you're doing, and then go down the list and do that with each one of those emotions. And when you do that, it's like you are massaging your emotional knots. So those emotional knots don't turn into emotional Charlie horses, right? Because if you don't acknowledge Desmond standing there saying, hey, dude, I want to roll with you, right? Maybe that's sadness or frustration or joy or happiness or anger or whatever the emotion is. Again, it's going to grow. Pain and bitterness that's not transformed will be transferred somewhere else in your life. Pain or bitterness that's not transformed will be transferred somewhere else in your life. So again, you may think, oh, I'm just going to stuff and avoid you like I did for 4 decades. I'm telling you, you may think it's working now for you to not go ape like I'm telling you, but at some point, just like Jonah learned, you can run, but you can't hide, right? Those emotions are going to come back up and they may come back with a vengeance. So that's why the sooner you can go through this process, the better. Okay, so that's P, AP, acknowledge, permission to feel. Then E is express. Lots of research, lots of science based on the catharsis, the healing power of expressing our thoughts and emotions through journaling. A lot of different ways you can do that, but I'm just going to keep it quick, is journal. Journal down. It doesn't matter how you do it. Just vomit your thoughts and emotions. Boom. Put those down. Then the last one, that's A, so acknowledge, permission to feel. E is express through writing. And then D is discuss. Discuss how you're feeling with, now here's the thing, with somebody that is safe with their own big emotions. If they're not safe with their own big, strong, intense emotions, they're probably not going to be safe with your big, strong, intense emotions, right? So like someone that's rolling, right? We all know the white belt spaz, right, Des? So like a lot of times these white belts will come on the mat and they'll spaz and freak out. Not only are they a potential danger to other opponents, they're also a danger to themselves. They could hurt themselves because they don't know how to control all that. So same thing with someone that you're trying to talk to about some of your emotional stuff. Make sure that they're safe to roll with, right? In terms of jiu-jitsu, a lot of times the higher belts are safer to roll with than lower belts because higher belts understand how to control not only their bodies, but their emotions. So same thing when you're communicating your emotions with somebody, make sure it's someone that's safe with their own emotions, because there's also be safe with your emotions, and that they're accepting and non-judgmental as well. So APED, acknowledge your emotions, give yourself permission to feel those emotions, express those emotions through writing, and then discuss those emotions and feelings with somebody else or in a community.
Great, man. Round of applause for breaking that down, man. That was wonderful. I enjoyed all that. I do want to ask you this, Noble. you talk about, you gave a scenario about Jordan Peterson. Have you heard of Jordan Peterson? Sure you have. He talks about feeding the dragon, and you didn't use a dragon analogy. You used a furry stuffed animal. But he says if you keep feeding the stuffed animal or the dragon, they eventually the dragon grows and becomes like a way more formidable opponent than it could have been if you would have dealt with it earlier. That sounds like you're running away from the emotion that you should be dealing with. This may be a tricky question for you, but is there, or can you explain a situation where we need to use our emotions offensively to protect us?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. The question is framed in a little bit in a way that is a little different than how I would frame it.
How would you frame it?
So I would frame it this way: how can our emotions serve us in offensive scenarios? Okay. And they absolutely can. So, like, do I want to use my emotions offensively is not quite an accurate statement, right? And so again, here's what emotions are. Emotions are just data. Emotions are data. It's information. That's what emotions are. And so emotions, I want to be aware of the emotions that I'm having, but I don't want to be hijacked by the emotions that I'm having. And if I don't have the emotional awareness or the emotional management to manage, or the tools to manage the emotions that I'm feeling, they could hijack my experience. Here's a perfect example. Rolling, again, using jiu-jitsu. If I roll emotionally, I am going to, this is physiological stuff here. That's why everyone knows that everyone rolls with me knows that one of my things that I'm going to whisper in your ear while we're rolling is what, right?
Controlling your breathing. Controlling your breathing, which is extremely hard to do dealing with you. But that's the point, I guess. But go ahead, please continue. Please continue.
Right. So, but see, and the reason why, so yes, it is a physical thing, but what most people don't realize I'm telling them that for is because I know it's also an emotional thing. If I know I can get Dez to control his breathing, he's not going to freak out on me. I don't want to roll with a freaked out Dez because you're 10 times stronger than I am. I want to roll with a calm Dez because a Dez under control not only is safer for me, but you're going to have more options available to you because you're going to be thinking about all the moves you can do. But if Dez is freaked out and in panic mode, Dez is thinking about one thing, and that's fight, flight, or freeze. But in our case, because we're doing jiu-jitsu, we're fighting, I don't want Dez going into fight mode. I want Dez to stay calm and think about all his different options of moves. So when you can control your breathing, that helps to control your emotions. When you can control your emotions, you can think and use the brain that God gave you to, like, oh man, I can do this when Nobel does that. I can do this, right? I can do these 15 different moves. But if you're freaking out, you're just trying to think about surviving right now, right? And so that is, for me, that is how and now here's the other thing too, because there have been times when I roll with folks that I've panicked, right? And as I'm working on my EQ and my emotional intelligence, I'll ask myself, okay, in the moment, ooh, man, I'm panicking. Okay, catch my breathing again. What emotions am I feeling rolling with Dez right now? Well, man, he's so much stronger than me. I'm feeling a little threatened. I'm feeling unsafe because he's so much stronger than me. He's more technical than I am. So now that's making me feel some anxiety. That's making me feel insecure. It's making me feel, right? And now I'm not letting those big emotions grow because I'm acknowledging them when they're coming at me. So now that helps me to bring it back down. Okay, Dez is not trying to kill me. We're just rolling. So there's no need for me to go into kill mode because Dez isn't in kill mode. It was just my emotions. I was just panicking. So as long as I can acknowledge those emotions that are coming in real time, I can stay more calm. And now I am more effective offensively in my role with you because I've been acknowledging my emotions. I'm not rolling emotionally. Does that make sense?
Got it, man. Man, all the stuff that you're putting out right now is really great, man. Thank you for doing it. Jeff is loving it in the comments. Shout out to Jeff again. I don't want to keep you too much longer, Noble, but I do want to ask you a few more things. What is the most emotionally intelligent action, in your opinion, that Jesus did?
That's great. I like that. Okay, so I got a couple things to that. So I got a couple exercises. Okay, these are a couple EQ exercises for y'all. Some spiritual EQ exercises. Okay, a couple things. One, the next time you read the Bible, you circle anywhere in the Bible that you're reading where there is an emotion expressed. And it is going to blow your mind. I'm just telling you, it is going to absolutely blow your mind. Okay, the next thing is, so that's an interesting question. So now directly to answer your question, I will say this. What was the most emotionally intelligent thing that Jesus did? So in my opinion, he was being, right? There was no performing, there was no people pleasing, he just was. Like how often in our own lives do we, man, I got to put on this image, or I got to do this for Dez, or I got to do this for Chad, or I got to do this for Vance, or for Jeff, and get approval. He could just be who he was. There was no, when he would get attacked, or there was sometimes he didn't defend himself. Dude, you're creator of the universe. What do I have to defend? I'm not, what's at stake? My identity isn't at stake. I don't have to defend myself to you. Noble, you don't have tattoos. Like, why would I defend that? Like, I do have tattoos. I don't feel the need to defend that. Or like he could just be who he could lead, serve, and love out of his being, not out of some sort of anything that any societal pressure. This is what the media says, and this is what my Jewish race says I got to do, and this is what my socioeconomic. He didn't care about any of that stuff. He could be who he was.
I want you to continue, but I guess it is sort of a trick question, because he is the embodiment of emotional intelligence. Like, he is emotional intelligence. There wouldn't be any emotion if he didn't give it to us, like you stated earlier. So yeah.
Bro, 100%. Check this out. You ready for this? So there's a fire book called Emotionally Healthy Spirituality by Pete Scazzaro. And the tagline, dude, throat punches me every single time. The tagline of that book, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality by Pete Scazzaro, is this: it is impossible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature. Huh? Come on, bro. Come on, man. Come on. What? What? Right. And how many Christians are out there quoting Bible verses? I go to church 7 days a week. I go to the potluck. I'm at youth group. I'm at 3 Sunday morning services. They got the Superfly suit on, but they're an emotional 5-year-old. And you know them. I know them. I used to be it. That was me. I was that guy. I could preach, bro. I could give you verses, Bible verses. Emotionally, I was a 5-year-old, bro. Right? So it is impossible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature. I mean, imagine if Jesus did not have the emotional maturity dealing with all the boneheads that dude. I mean, think about this. Check. Oh man, come on, bro. Hey, I'm not trying to preach, bro. You're getting me all fired
Go
up.
ahead,
You
man.
tell me the only time you tell me, bro. I'm no theologian. I don't have a PhD in biblical scholarship, all this kind of stuff. You tell me the only people he got in conflict with.
Well, he definitely got in conflict with the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
And guess who they were? Those were all the people in the church, bro. His biggest conflicts, his biggest street beefs, bro, his biggest arguments, bro, were people in the church.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Right? Difference between...
Even in his own circle, though, he basically had a conflict with Peter as well.
100%, bro.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got you.
Just because somebody is spiritual does not mean they have high EQ.
Right.
Just because you know Bible verses, you got some cool title, does not mean you're emotionally mature.
Man, excellent stuff, bro. Excellent. Let's all, to sum it all up, let's all be like Jesus at the end of the day, right? And just study his example. Naturally, by being a believer, we are increasing our emotional intelligence. Correct?
Boom. Boom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. Before we go today, Noble, do you have any questions for me before we end this podcast today?
What is your purpose in life?
My purpose in life is to serve and to protect, I feel. Not in a police sort of way, but to serve and protect. Like you, Noble, I was a people pleaser. You know what I mean? And in some facts, I still am a people pleaser in a way. 90%, 95% there to be 100%, but still working on that. And it's encouraging for me to hear that you are my superior, you're older than me, and you're still having issues with it. You know what I mean? And me being my age, I used to believe that me being my age, I should have this stuff under control by now, at least. But there is no time cap on it. You just have to constantly continue to work on yourself. But yeah, I believe that my goal is to serve, and my goal is to protect people, and not just physically protect them, but protect them from theological things, philosophical attacks, emotional attacks, and just have self-control. I believe emotional intelligence is, when I think about it, it's kind of synonymous with having self-control, and which is one of the fruits of the spirit. You know what I mean? So if we could control the self, which includes emotions, we are demonstrating the Holy Spirit's work within us. So yeah, man. Yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu definitely helped me with emotional control.
100%. No, yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I love it, because I know, like, dude, God has got so much stuff that he's still working on. Philippians chapter 1, verses 3-6, right? Verse 6, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion till the day of Christ Jesus. Like, thank God that in spite of my 10 million failures by 9 a.m., he's still working on me, right? And so, thankfully that I'm still very much on this journey, but I'm thankful for jiu-jitsu because I get daily practice on controlling my emotions in every single round. I'm at 260 rolls this year so far. I've had 260 opportunities this year to control my emotions. And sometimes I do better than others, but it's giving me a lot of emotional reps with this emotional bench press called jiu-jitsu that is helping me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Beautiful, man. And it's such a beautiful sport. And besides jiu-jitsu, putting yourself in situations where your emotions can be tested and trained could help build that emotional muscle. So not just jiu-jitsu, but anything that's stressful. If you can control yourself under a stressful situation, whatever that is, and build that muscle over time, it's beneficial.
Yes.
So thank
right.
you. Thank you, Nobel.
Thank you, brother. I love you, man. I can't wait to roll with you again soon, bro.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to get better. Before we go, man, shout out the name of your podcast. If someone who watches this wants to reach out to you, ask you some more questions, what's your contact information?
Sure. So I'm on all the social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, IG, and you can find me at The Nobel Gibbens or Nobel Gibbens, whatever, Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm also, my website is eqgangster.com. Podcasts and YouTube are both EQ Gangster. And however I can help anybody out, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, like Des said, like I'm still very much on this journey, so don't get it twisted. Like I've arrived at some, EQ guru. I'm still on the street grinding. Just ask my wife and daughter, like they know I'm still working on stuff. So by no means have I arrived, but I am still working on stuff every single day. Every single day. I don't do jujitsu once a week, once a month. I do jujitsu 5 or 6 days a week. I do emotional fitness 7 days a week. So it's important, so just like being in God's word, same thing with my emotional fitness as well. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. Shout out to everyone in the comments who watched this whole entire time. I think this is the most viewers I have from the beginning to the end. So that's beautiful right there. If you watch this on YouTube, leave a comment below. Give a shout out to Nobel if you need some help with that, with emotional intelligence. Like this video. Nobel, you have a great rest of your afternoon, man. I'm gonna have to bring you on for part 2 soon. And God bless you, man. You have a good day, okay?
Thank you, brother. Great to see you.